So if you're wondering where my reviews for The Incredibles 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp are, they haven't been released over here yet, because Disney, apparently, don't think that we're capable of watching the World Cup and going to see movies at the same time. It's incredibly annoying. And also apologies that there hasn't been very many uploads at the moment. I've been busy watching the World Cup, so yeah, I haven't seen as many films as I'd like to at the moment because of that. And there was also a secret screening of Incredibles 2 on at Cineworld a little while ago, and I was going to go and see it, but obviously I didn't know what it was going to be. It turned out to be Incredibles 2, but the reason I didn't go is because there was a World Cup game that I really wanted to watch on the... okay, wait a minute.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Starring, amongst others, Yolande Knoll, Lex Scott Davis, Jovian Wade, and Marissa Tomei. Pretty sure I've messed up. I'm terrible at getting people's names right, I think. I'm always mispronouncing them. Directed by Gerard McMurray, off of a screenplay by James DeMonico. This is my review for The First Purge. First up, apologies if there's a bit of background noise. I have to have the windows open, otherwise I may die. It's so hot. It's ridiculously hot. And to all of the people not in the UK who kind of look at us here complaining about the heat and just saying that, you know, we can't handle it and we're rubbish when it comes to heat, you're right. You are completely correct. So the Purge franchise is a franchise I enjoy a lot. My kind of ranking of them, just briefly, would be, not including this one for now, would be 2 is the best, then I like 1, and then number 3. I didn't really know what to think about the first Purge going into it. There was just a part of me that was thinking, what's the point? What's the point in going back in this world they've created? Because surely once the first Purge begins, it's going to be like any other Purge movie. There's not going to be anything really to make it different, other than the fact it's just the first one. Like, what really narratively can that offer? And by the time this finished, yeah, I kind of think I was more or less right on that point. There's a couple of bits that I'll get to in a minute. I'll have to be very careful not to talk any spoilers here, but yeah, for the most part, I still don't think they should have gone backwards. I don't see the need for them to do that. The franchise was going in the right direction anyway. I think the third one suffered from some problems, but it was still going in the right direction. I was still curious to see where the world they've created will go as these purges continue. Stepping back seems like a backward step. It's exactly what it is, and I just wish they hadn't done that. So the plot of this one then is really in the title. This is the first Purge. It's called The Experiment. It starts to get the name The Purge pretty quickly in this, actually. It gets that nickname, but it's officially called The Experiment. It's a social experiment where people are freely able to commit crime for 12 hours. It's the same premise that we've always known, except this is the first time it's happened, and it's restricted rather than the entirety of America like it has been in the last 3. This one is just one particular part. It's just Staten Island. It's a very small part of America, and the whole world's eyes are watching as this thing unfolds. And we follow several characters on this one. We follow Naya and Isaiah, a brother and sister, who are caught up in their own little parts of this purge. There's also Dimitri, who's a criminal. He's a nice guy, but still a criminal. He's the self-appointed king, as it were, of Staten Island by the sound of things. And then there's the people, including Marissa Tomei's character, who have started this, who are behind the purge. And right from the start of this, there's issues. The thing with the Purge franchise is, I love the idea of it. Like, the idea of crime just... I mean, I don't love it in the real world. I'm not hoping it happens tomorrow here. But as a storytelling device, I like it. I think it offers up good potential. But it's always one of those subjects that stretches belief a little bit, stretches credibility. It's would this really happen? Can this really happen? But it's a movie, you know. You can switch off from it to a certain degree. But with this one, they kind of stretch it even further, because they're paying every single person who is taking part in this $5,000 plus extra money per crime or per kill that they commit, which is really silly. I mean, it's really silly. You kind of get it from a story point of view. Like, you get that they're trying to encourage people to do it for whatever reasons they have, which is basically... We'll get to it. So basically, giant social commentary that's not subtle. But the fact that this is costing them so much money, and you see how many people remain on Staten Island, it's a bit muddled, but I think the general impression that I got was that anybody who stays there gets $5,000. And then any crime they commit, any murder they commit, they get more. I don't think we hear how much more they get per kill, as it were, but this costs a lot of fucking money. And is it worth it? And who signs off on that? I mean, and who agrees, yeah, we can put all this money into this murder thing? It just takes a premise that is good, but very, very fragile. Like, if you look into it, it starts to crumble. And it just puts more crap on it, really, until it becomes just, as I say, just silly. It may just be me. It just may not be me switching off enough. But yeah, as soon as the monetary values in this were announced, as soon as they were telling how much they were going to get, it was just a bit, really? Really? And that's not even mentioning the technology that they're using here. They've got drones flying around, and I'm not sure time-wise when this is set. This may be just me forgetting things, but I can't remember where the other Purge movies are set year-wise. Like, are they present day? Because if this is in the past, that was before the first Purge, not as in this first Purge, the first Purge movie. It's getting confusing. But were drones really a big thing there? Drones that could fire? I don't know. Maybe the military had them. I'm thinking too much into this, aren't I? But there's these little cameras they have that the people taking part in the Purge just slip onto their eyeballs, which touching eyeballs freaks me out. But they put them on their eyeballs, and then the people, sort of the Purge head office, or the experiment head office, can watch what they're doing, can monitor it as like a live feed. And that must cost a lot, right? I mean, the only reason I can think that it was done is because the people who are wearing these, their eyes light up, sort of a blue or a red. And it does make for some effective imagery. It does look creepy. There's some great shots of people hiding in the shadows, and you can just see their eyes. And a really good part where somebody's trying to hide, and he has to shut his eyes, and so they can't, why am I shutting my eyes? So they can't see him looking out at them. So, I mean, it's used well from that point. It does help to build the tension, and say the imagery is great for it. But again, how much money is being put into this thing? Is it really? Is it worth it? And then that leads on to why they're doing this. It's to take out the poor, basically. The people that the government consider to be the dredges of society. Which is why it's done on Staten Island, which is why it's surrounding this tower block. So much of this is so on the nose. Like, this Purge movie is not subtle in any way. You've probably heard in other reviews about sort of the pussy grabbing motherfucker line after somebody is grabbed by the pussy, which takes you out of the moment, and it does. It's a horrible moment that ruins a really tense scene, but it's just another example of them just using the political agenda, as it were, and just being so on the nose. A little bit more subtlety would have been nice from this film. And while I say the imagery is good in places, and it is, there are certain moments that are really effective. There's a particular scene down an alleyway involving a stuffed toy bear that I won't say any more about, but that scene is really creepy and it looks really good. Quite a lot of the time it lacks a lot of the style that the first three had. I'll always remember that moment from the first one. I think it was the first one where they're standing outside the house and they're all wearing the creepy masks and sort of looking up at the cameras. It's really disturbing and it is really, really creepy. And this doesn't quite have as much of that. There is masks. People do wear masks, but we don't know why. It's referenced that they're wearing them. It's referenced that it's a thing and nobody quite gets it. But I can only assume there must have been some kind of Let's Wear a Mask Purge Facebook group before this started. So loads of people decided to do it. It's odd. I don't quite get it. But yeah, it just doesn't look as stylish as the other ones do. It looks a bit amateur in places, a little bit cheap. And that's a shame because some of the visuals in the Purge franchise I absolutely love. And yeah, this one left me lacking a little bit in that regard. The characters, though, for the most part, are fine. I actually quite like them. Dimitri is the main guy in this one. Yelan? It's Y''Lan. I'm going to go with Yelan. He's great in this one. His character is really good. I think the three, so Dimitri and the brother and sister duo of Naya and Isaiah, which is fun to say, they're good characters for the most part, particularly the first two. Like, I like them. She's badass. She can take care of herself. She can hold her own, which I really appreciate they were able to do that. She wasn't really the damsel in distress. And Dimitri, as I say, he's a criminal, but there's a good side to him. And he kind of ends up being quite heroic, particularly in a really cool sort of die-hardish final act set inside the tower block. Character of Isaiah, though, I liked him. It's a good performance from all three of these. The performances from the actors are great. But this character, he wound me up a little bit. You know those moments in movies where somebody can accomplish something, where somebody, sort of, for example, has a gun, and they're like, right, I can kill this person, and you're like, well, just do it then. Just do it, otherwise it's gone wrong. Okay, it's gone wrong. When the character hesitates for absolutely no reason. He has a moment like this here in a really crucial, critical scene, and the character really suffers for the rest of the film as a result. And there's a lot of this. There's a lot of characters making stupid decisions and doing silly things and going to stupid places. Like, if it was me, I would have just found like a dumpster or something. If I was stuck on the streets, I would have just found like a giant dumpster and just hid underneath it or hid inside it just for a few hours until this thing passed over. But they don't. They keep moving from location to location, and each time they move somewhere, you're just like, why are you going there? that's not a smart move. Why on earth would you go to this place? And there's so much of it throughout that the characters just started to annoy me through their decision-making process. There's also a lunatic character here, and I forget who he's played by. One second. Rotimi Paul plays him. And he's an absolute nutcase of a character, and I don't blame the actor for how bad this character is, because the direction to him must just have been, just go mental, just, lick faces, just be absolutely nutso. And he is, he certainly commits to that. And by the way, this character's name is Skeletor. Fuck's sake. The character's called Skeletor, and he's nuts, and he just walks around chewing the scenery. It's a terrible character, but not quite as bad as the person early on in the Purge who decides that his first Purge decision, the first thing he's going to do, is to take revenge on the cash machine, the ATM machine, that has been charging him to withdraw money all these years. It's an actual thing. It's an actual moment that happens. And that scene kind of sums up the Purge, the first Purge, for me a little bit, because it's a movie that has the flashes of greatness. It has moments where it's good, but then something else will just come along so shortly afterwards that will just make you go, oh, why? Why are we doing this? And yeah, it just seems like a film that's a bit messy. It's a bit silly. It's not as coherent as the other ones. It doesn't follow a story that makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. And there's a twist in this one that I won't say for spoilers' sake, but you'll know it when you see it, because it's a big part of the first Purge. It's a big part of this first experiment that really took away a lot from the Purge. I mean, I guess on one hand, it's interesting that they decided to do this. I know it's very difficult to know what I'm talking about. If you've seen the film, you should know. But yeah, it wasn't what I wanted from a Purge film. It didn't seem to fit with the other movies. If anything, it felt like a bit of a cheap way of moving this along, rather than actually just allowing the people in the Purge and the society within this Purge to kind of break down themselves. And yeah, it's just something I didn't agree with. It's something I wasn't a fan of. I really wish they hadn't done it. But overall, the first Purge, I liked it in places. It's certainly the weakest of the Purge movies in my mind. So it's at the bottom of the list. But yeah, worth checking out if you're a fan of this franchise, I think. I'm going to give the first Purge a 6 out of 10. Have you seen the first Purge? If so, let me know what you think in the comments below. What's your favourite Purge movie? Rank them like I did. Let me know your rankings. Just a bit of update on the channel. Movies at 20 is still going on. I'm going to do Armageddon. I haven't done Dr. Dolittle yet. I have watched the film, but I haven't done it because there's something else I want to try with that film, so I'm going to hold that back, just that particular movie. But that Movies at 20 is continuing for those of you who are watching it. If you like this video, hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at JoePJulians, and I'll see you on the next video.